Hey everyone. The question we're here today to ask is how can branding help in innovation? Welcome to Invincible Innovation Live. I'm Mazor, Kario, innovation and value creation expert, and I'll be your host. And today with me, I have Karin Folman.
Woo!
So happy to see you here. Hi, Karin.
Hi.
Karin is a brand strategy and brand innovation expert, educator, and a coach at the THNK School of Creative Leadership. So happy to see you here with me, Karin.
Yes, I'm happy to be here. You're on fire. I'm very impressed by all the interviews you've done so far with so many
Oh,
people.
oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy that people view them. I'm closed in this room and I don't have any clue what's going to be like if people will see it and if they'll find it interesting. But for me, it's interesting for sure. So that's a good
Yeah,
start. And
yeah,
from talking to you, I know that we can talk for hours. We've done it in the past. So it will surely be interesting. And
yeah,
I want to invite people to join us in the talk. It's going to be interesting too.
yeah, of
So
course. And I can't wait to write the book with you. We will call it Innovation Schminovation.
we have the name, so we can start. It's a good
Yeah,
start.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Is it okay if I ask you a question before we
sure, feel
start?
free.
Because
Feel
I'm just
free.
curious, because you
Sure.
already interviewed about 22 very interesting people. Very honored to be a part of that list. My question is to you is, do you recognize any patterns already from all the different people representing?
Yeah, I think that there are some questions that I usually get the same answers. For example, I talk about what has changed during this Corona crisis, what has changed in your work, and what is the obstacles of what are the hard parts of what you're doing. And I think that all of them talk about collaborating creatively online and how creative things and co-creation is usually done, when we meet people. So you could create with people and you could do things online, but it's not the same, especially if you want to just have a breakthrough or something which is unusual. It's really hard to do it. And then I see that people from all around, like from design and people from innovation and corporate and startups, they all talk about this missing feeling of connection that is very important for creativity and innovation.
Yeah, but talking about innovation, I think that will be definitely the next focus for remote working and remote collaboration innovation. And how can you break that barrier? So, for example, I teach in the university and it's all collaboratively work. So it's not just me giving a lecture out and the students are in bed sleeping on mute. I
Yeah.
uh, I uh, I I don't force them, but I really encourage them to open their videos. I don't care if they're in bed, but at least I want to see a face and I want to see if someone is laughing at my jokes or
Yeah, it's
it's
important.
really you're not. I'm doing all
Yeah.
this like effort, and then on the other side it's like crick, 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 cricket. Like yesterday,
Yeah.
I was actually singing. I think we're alone now. It's really, really weird. Like you sit there and you give everything, and they're like, but when you do tell them to open the videos and you do crack some jokes and you do use collaborative tools, I don't know, for example, there is Bunch Miro Mural for creative work that I love specifically. You actually do get really good interactions because
Right.
it's very visual. You get to see the people moving around on the boards, you get to see what they're doing, you're able to chat, you're able to write comments, you're able to move around post-its. I even have fights, people fighting on a
Oh,
post-it.
so you have action. That's
Yeah,
important. Energy is there.
exactly. The people are fighting, people are opinionated. It's kind of the same energy that you have in a regular room. And the good thing is, you sit in your sweats, you don't need to spend too much time, you don't need to commute. And I actually think it preserves the energy for the creative work rather than like schmoozing and coffee and hi and then go to the workshop, leave the workshop. Makes more
Yeah.
focus and to the point. So
Yeah.
I specifically really enjoyed. I derive a lot of benefit from online collaboration, and I hope to it will stay around for a long time. Actually,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there are some benefits for working from home. So that's for sure. But, I talked to several people, not in the show, like friends and colleagues, and they said that in the beginning, it looks like working from home. And now, after a few months, you know that you're sleeping at work. you're just working all the time and going to sleep sometime and coming back. So especially in Israel, which is very, intense, and tech and startups are working all the time and trying to do more and more. And now they find themselves even without the traffic going and coming back, which is a time to just listen to podcasts, to talk to people, to just be on the way and not in work full-fledged, like what you do
Yeah,
usually and when
yeah.
you're in front of the screen. So
Yeah, but I
yeah,
think setting up personal boundaries is one of the most important thing when you work at home, and you just need to really be strict about that. And I think you will actually find, if you do keep your boundaries well, you find that you actually have much more time for listening to podcasts and doing your exercises and doing stuff that you like when you log out. So it's actually all this commute time that you spend on listening to a podcast is actually more, you really are deliberate in the time you spend and the people you spend it with. So
yeah.
it's a lot of making little adjustments, but I actually saw a really funny TikTok video about that. It was like, now I'm at work, now I'm at home, now I'm at work. So she was like doing her laundry and doing something on the laptop and putting her like robe and sitting professional, and was like,
Yeah, funny,
it's true, it's true,
yeah,
but
it's true. That's true. So let's talk about brand-led innovation. How you see that? Like it's a new term for me, so I'd love to hear more from you about that.
yeah. So I'm sure that you saw already with all the different interview that you made that a lot of disciplines use the word innovation for
Right.
their field, right? So you have
Sure.
tech-led innovation, you have social innovation, you have design-led innovation. I'm not sure if you talked to someone from the strategic design discipline
Yeah.
yet. You have business model innovation, scientific innovation. So a lot of different fields have their own kind of point of view when they go into innovation. My point of view, when I'm talking about brand-led innovation, first of all, it have two conditions to succeed. One of them, it means that it's a collaborative approach, meaning that it doesn't have a hero. Okay, what I mean is, for example, that, for example, is not that we are using a specific technology that is very, very ripe, and there is an opportunity to embed it in a new business model, and then we are looking for different products and services that we can develop based on that technology. The first rule is, of course, we're leveraging technology because we're living in the fourth industrial revolution, and technology is very accessible, and it would be a missed opportunity for any brand not to leverage them, but it's not the hero, right? So the first premise is that we don't have heroes, right? It's not led by a specific, very popular innovation, technology, or a specific trend. It's a cross-pollination, right? And that's super important to understand. So it's different disciplines that merge to create a bigger, stronger, sustainable added value. Okay, that's the core of it. And that's super important to understand, because when working in brands, you have brands is basically the facade, right, of a company. I don't like to
Yeah.
use the word facade per se, but it's just it's the
Yeah.
same
It's what
word.
the
It's a
clients
company,
see. Yeah.
and it's what the company knows about itself inside, internally. So when I say a company, I say brand. It's the same thing, right? Brand is
Okay.
just a more, I would say, structured way to look at the way you do business internally and externally, and how do you decide on processes and the people that you hire, and of course the target audience that you interact with, and the experience that you create. Okay, so that in its essence, a brand is very it's a collaborative effort. It doesn't belong
Right.
to one department. It doesn't sit under marketing. For people who think it does, no, it should not sit under marketing. And it does not belong to one department. It belongs to the whole organization. Okay, so at its core, when you talk about brand-led innovation, you're talking on a multi-layered, multi-level approach for innovation. And the idea, that's the second part of it. The idea is that it's basically the innovation is used to create brand growth, and the brand is used to synthesize and identified innovation, right? So this two things have to match. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are creating an innovation in a brand context, in the context of the brand you want to create, you need an objective, right? You want to have bigger market share, you want to get more users, you want to impact your users to do some positive behavior, you want to get more brand equity. Anything you do in the innovation space have to support that goal.
Yeah,
right?
and what you're saying is that it's not one maybe section of the company, maybe one department, one person. He's not responsible for the innovation. It's like the whole company as a whole. Everyone should be interested in growing, in doing something better, in creating something which is more than what they have right now. Right?
Yes, but at the end of the day, it have to serve the ultimate purpose of the brand. So that's kind of like a go, no go moment, right? If you, even if you have a really cool technology, or you created a really cool campaign, or your users are starting to be excited about it, if it doesn't serve the ultimate purpose of the brand, which means is, why are we here? Why do we even started our company in the first place? How do we want to be perceived? What is our position in the market? All those things, if it does not serve it, even if you landed on a very cool innovation, you will not execute it, because it doesn't have a purpose. The purpose is to create more brand awareness, brand growth, brand equity, etc., etc. So it's a very, very strong filter to ask yourself, is this tool, product, service is relevant?
So what you're saying is that these questions should be very upfront, and everybody should be aware of the answers for why and what and what is the purpose of this company all the time. And sometimes, like companies, they know it, or they've done some kind of a branding process a few years ago, but it's not really conveyed to their employees or to the company as a whole as the main goal. And usually it's like a vision for a very few years from now, and people are less aware. What you're saying, it should be alive in the employee's heart and in the innovation process all the time, as a aiming them to the direction they need to go to.
Yes, because you're also pointing out another pain point in this industry, that a lot of brand, and we will talk about the bag in the system in a minute, because I do think there is some failure in the system. But a lot of agencies do deliver brand strategy and brand identity in a very kind of, I would say, celebratory way. What I mean about celebratory way is that, all the people, some people from the company sit together with some people from the creative agency, and they create some blueprint or some North Star or a vision or a mission or values to represent their aspirations, I must say. And this is very important. It usually reflects their aspirations, which is great to have and important to have when you put a vision. But on the other hand, it should also reflect your capabilities. Right, so it's really easy to put like, I want to be 1 meter and 80 centimeter blonde. I really, really, really desire to be that, but I have some limitations. Right, I'm 1 meter 62. Maybe the weight I can fluctuate, or I can work on that, but there is some limitations, right? And the limitation is not something that we need to be discouraged by. It's something that we need to either mend and put effort to, which means resources and funding, or accept and work with it, right? So we can either leverage or just be aware of it and work with it. So what happens a lot of time when you do have brand strategy values, it's mainly based on aspirations. Doesn't take that.
I see.
Which is good, but you have to really, really. It's kind of like it's a three. I would say three. Let's Venn diagram for a moment here. You have your kind of your vision, your aspiration, where you want to go in a company. You have your current situation, your capability, your resource, your internal culture, your processes, and let's not forget, you have your, let's say, for lack of, just to be very simple, your consumer, right? And
Right, right.
all those things have to be aligned, right? I cannot offer something that is not relevant for my consumer. I will not offer something that to my consumer does not align with my values, and I will not develop something that I'm not able to execute, right? So this is the first fault in the system, like you said. People do have decks on their, maybe sometimes even on their
Yeah,
wall. We believe in blah blah blah.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
on the wall, our values, and there is like maybe an event and balloons and
yeah,
friendly, innovative, accountability, transparency, and everybody is like, "Ooh." But at the end of the day, question number one: does it actually reflect our company? Does it actually reflect the market that we're in? And are we accountable on executing it? So if
hmm,
you do take all those three questions out and you are embedding it very well in the services and products that you deliver to your consumer, and your employees actually know what each value stands for, and it serves as a filter for decision making, like I said, it's a go no
yeah,
go moment. If the
yeah,
innovation does not go through our values in a very clear way, it's a no-go. Unfortunately, we can sell it to someone else. We can maybe open another brand and use this innovation idea that we have under a different umbrella, but we're not going to implement it in our brand.
I see.
So
I
that's a
see.
very core kind of like, I would say, very black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting what you're saying. And what another thing that we wanted to talk about, and I think it will be matched with that, is the role of education inside innovation, because you do both things. How do you see that? And we
Yeah,
have a question. Are you teaching a CK in innovation theory in what you do? I don't know this theory, but maybe you as a lecturer, you know it.
if I'm,
CK innovation theory. That's
I
the
don't know what
question.
CK means. Can
Okay.
she or he elaborate?
Yeah, we can ask afterwards. It's just a question. You
Okay.
don't have to answer it. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what CK means, but I do teach. I don't teach innovation theory. I teach hands-on innovation. So
Mm,
what I do is two things in my role as educator. One of them is called building brand experiences, which is basically, in a nutshell, whatever we discussed now. So we really analyze and dissect what is the purpose of a brand, and then we really analyze and dissect all the technology innovation we have right now looking into the future. So we work with a lot of foresight exercises, looking into 10 years from now, and also on consumer behavior and how it changes. And then we put all these ingredients together and create a very hands-on action plan for brand innovation for 2030. So it's very,
mhm.
very actionable. Obviously, we're using theory in the way
Yeah, but it's
we
practical.
we did in the way we develop the workshop. It's all based on theory and frameworks that are proven, tested, but it's very hands-on. Also, I think it's very, very hands-on. We work with an actual project with a executive that want to bring it to life, either within his or her organization or as a personal endeavor or new social endeavor. So yeah, it's very hands-on and practical. So if the listener want to clarify the question, maybe I can give him a better
Yeah.
answer, or
And
maybe
so,
we
so
lost
I,
him.
no, he's here and he gives
Oh,
me an answer. So afterwards, I could read it and answer him
cute.
afterwards.
So to answer your question, I think I see a lot of progress, a lot, especially in the past few years. But traditionally, and it's still evident in a lot of institutions, creative thinking and innovative thinking, which is the same, uh, and design thinking, which is the same. Basically, it's a systematic thinking for problem solving
Yeah.
was taught in silos. What it means is that still today you get creative people, and I'm talking on the creative industry because that's where I come from, that are representing a siloed thinking, which means that they know very well to create a very detailed process within a discipline, right? But it's not holistic thinking. And what is important, as I said before, it have to be in a holistic thinking. When you really want to drive brand-led innovation, it have to be holistic thinking. So the first problem was, and still is, that a lot of department in universities still teach a very silo discipline based on traditional boundaries. Okay. Now, for example, in Utrecht University in the Netherlands, where I teach, they just changed it, I think 2 years ago, into this more holistic thinking. So basically, we have 4 pillars. One of them is creative thinking, of course, business thinking, technology, and human-centered design. And in every course that we deliver, those components have to be met.
Oh, so makes sense.
Yeah, so our students do not learn anything in silo. There is no marketing principles in silo. There is no, they do learn about blockchain and different technologies, yes, but it's always in the context of a bigger case study, of a bigger business, which take into account business, creativity, technology, and human-centered design. So this is a big, and it just happened in the last couple of years, right? So this is a big change. And there are some in the Netherlands. There is another department in TU Delft University, this teaching strategic design, but it's a master program, so it's not accessible for a lot. Just people that want to continue their education. I did a master in Bezalel in Jerusalem, which is called design management, and it's similar to strategic design. So it does go that way, but relatively, I don't think fast-paced enough. Like we already needed that 10 years ago. Like we already need this generation, the millennial, to be exercising this. And it's not yet evident. So that's the number one fault. Do we need to answer something?
Yeah, I could tell you what he said if you want. And I think it's related to what you said about the CK theory, describes and explains the reasoning as a designer, as he thinks of a design of a new object, a new product, service, or process. In addition, its explanatory power, or this theoretical framework, provides powerful generative mechanism to overcome cognitive obstacles, thus improving our ability to innovate. So it's a tool to innovate.
Definitely going to look into that. Sounds
so I'll send you the
interesting.
link because I have a thank you. I don't have the name, unfortunately.
Oh, no,
I usually have the name of the LinkedIn user, so I want to thank him and I'll look into it. So
yay!
So thank you for reaching
out
us
and connect and LinkedIn. So that's the number one fault. Do you need to stop?
No, I'm with you.
Okay, the number two fault, and maybe it connects to the education silo, that still agencies, not everywhere in the world, there are some places that are more progressive, but most country agencies model is still siloed, right? So you have digital marketing agencies, you have design agencies, you have brand identity agencies, you have innovation consultancies, but not, or even the big ones, the big fours that try to create a lot of digital innovation do not yet encompass all
I totally agree. I think that these people don't talk within the agencies, especially in the big consultancies. I talked to half a year ago, before the corona, I've talked to, in Israel, I went through all of these big agencies, American consulting companies, and I talked to them about what they're doing and the connection between what they're doing strategically and what they're doing in the design and what they're doing in the digital processes and in transformation and in tech. It's not connected in any way. Sometimes it's different people, different departments. Sometimes they even talk to the manager on strategic side and consulting them. And once they get to implementation, it passes to someone else and they don't have any connection with it. And they don't have the methods or the way of thinking, and not in silos. To think about.
And what happened? And what happened after, when you go back and see what was implemented? What do you think happened?
A technological solution. That's usually
There
what
is
happens.
usually like a fragment of the idea that was initiated with the consultancy group was implemented, and then
Oh
like six
yeah,
months later we see like a feature that reflects the big vision that happened in the what we call innovation theater phases of the innovation. So,
yeah.
so if going back to the creative businesses, it's very still relatively siloed. There are some agencies, big agencies, that try
Hmm.
to bring all discipline in house, and they do it very well, and that's a good case study, and very important to look at it. And then the
Hmm.
third gap in this kind of link is the customer, right? The client. So the people that approach creative businesses. And then here you have a chicken and an egg thing. So most companies will approach I'm talking about most cases, the masses. I'm not talking the leading innovative companies of the world. They know how
Right.
to do good innovation. I'm not worried about them. I'm talking about the other 95,
Yeah.
99% of companies. So what they do, they approach agencies for a specific task, usually very tactical task. Oh, we need digital marketing. We need social media presence. We need to develop a product. We need to create a traction around an idea. They suddenly have an urgent need, and they approach. And then the agencies, they need to make their money. They're like
Sure.
compliant, and they're like, okay, sure, we'll do it. Even though we believe that we really need to go backwards and check your vision, check your values, see if we're all syncs, understand if the CEO and the product developer understand the same thing. They do think that it needs to be done, but at that point it's a bit too late, because they got the request for proposal, and they want to act on it, and they need to make
Yeah,
money.
I
So
think I
it's a
think
bit of a
that's yeah. I see what you're saying about the chicken and the egg, but as a consultant, like for almost 15 years, I have a consultancy in a few of them. So as I see it, you could tell them what should be done and how you see, and you could really try to convince them. But in most cases, because you got this is what they need. They need this delivery. Okay, deliverable number one. This is what they want from you. To tell them, let's go and do something further. It's sometimes like
too
but
late.
yeah, this is not what I need from you, and you're
Yeah,
just trying
yeah.
to elaborate the bill.
Upsell.
This is
Yeah,
what you're trying
upsell.
to do.
Exactly.
So
So then you
it's
have
really
trust
hard.
issues, then you have trust issues, then you have conflict of interest issues,
Yeah,
and then you have all the rest of the kind of how do you say, byproduct of this
yeah. and
process.
and it's two parts. One is like what I define myself. What are the services and product that I define to sell these clients, which is one thing. And the second is what they want from me. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the same and exactly the same solution that they want from me, or it's not the same problem that I think they should solve, right? So this connection,
But the thing is, who is losing?
I would say both. I would say both.
Exactly.
But in many
Exactly.
cases, agencies do see themselves as only in this little box, okay? Because they want to do only Facebook marketing. That's what
And
they
they
want to do.
should. And they
Yeah,
should.
and this is what they see. I can see the same thing in design, because I think designers are in many cases see themselves as more like visual solution creator. They
That
see
goes
this,
back to the number one gap of education.
yeah.
Traditional,
This is how they
siloed,
see.
boundary. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
goes
they
back.
see themselves as giving a visual answer. This is what
Yeah,
they see.
yeah,
Although thinking and creatively, design thinking as a whole, as a designer within the company, within the business, they don't see themselves there. So
yeah.
when they
But
sell you, so what this is what they sell you. They sell you this, and then
I
they get,
know. But when you think in depth about what is design, right?
Mhm.
We use design to solve either commercial problems, right? So
Right,
the business aspect of things is just part of the equation. We cannot
sure,
not. We use design nowadays and always leveraging technology, right? Whatever
sure.
was and is available. We use design to usually answer some sort of human need, right? So you need either to design a new smart city, or you need to design a new innovative classroom board for online teaching, or anything is designed is usually either commercial or answer on a social need, right? So even to start with that, how can you say that I only do the visual part? Like, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, right? Because
Right.
inherently in a design project you have a human, a technology, and a business aspect. So it brings back, that's what I said, and that was the core of your question, where
Mhm.
is the kind of the fault in the system? So it really really goes back into the education narrative for the creative industry as a whole. And I'm not saying it's nowhere to be found. There are faculties that are teaching strategic design, design management, strategic branding. There are, but they're pretty far and few in between. I would
I
want to
see.
see more of that.
So, what would be like the most important skill for an innovation leader? What would you want him to know?
So again, it really depends the industry. I don't think there is one size fits all, right? So it's really important. What is your goal? I think an innovation, someone that leads innovation within an organization, first and foremost, the most important skill is to align to the goals of the company. And that goes to the core of it. Like, why are we doing what we're doing? So that's the most important part. I used to work with a biotech company that were disease focused and patient focused, and they looked. Usually in biotech, you sit on a technology, you sit on a IP, and you find the right disease to sell it to. That's
Yeah.
the usual process, right? You find some very, very good research and you want to leverage it to make it commercial. You want to monetize on the research.
Yeah.
And they did completely opposite. They said, we care only about one disease, we care only about one aspect of the disease, and we will go out there to the world and look at any IP, any research, any technology available. Doesn't matter if it's extensive or small treatment or far in the process or after. I don't care. Anything that have the potential to fix this disease. So that's a completely 100% different approach into developing a product. So that's the first thing an innovation leader in a company should really understand. What is the goal of the company? Where are we going? Why are we doing what we're doing at its core? Because
Yeah.
I'm talking from a brand perspective, right? Because in brand, it's very clear. We have our
Right.
purpose, we have our values, should be clear for everybody, should be executed in every department, should be accessible for all our consumers and all our stakeholders. I call it
Sure.
stakeholder centric. It's not consumer
Hmm.
centric, it's stakeholder centric, right? All our stakeholders have to benefit or understand what we're here for. So I think the most important part for innovation leader is really embody at its core the reason for being for the company serving. And I think it's an amazing also as a personal quest moment
Yeah.
to ask yourself, is this something that I want to spend the next 5 years or 2 years or whatever of my life advancing this purpose? Is it
Yeah.
something that I really, really think worthwhile? So I think on a personal level, it's also a good idea, because a lot of people I talk to comes out on the other side of innovation and said, yeah, but we did spend all this time and money. And then, we develop, I don't know, a financial tool to sell more mortgages to old ladies, I don't know, whatever. And they're like, you know, so
Yeah.
this is what I put in the world after all
Yeah.
these years, kind
I
of.
think what you're saying is related to my last episode. I talked to the World Food Program Accelerator leader, the manager, and I told him that I think that he has lots of luck to do something that interests him, and he feels challenged. But more than that, has a real impact on something which is so important. They are trying to prevent hunger in the world. So I think it's noble goal as most people would think, and just to think that you're spending your talent, your time, your knowledge, every resource that you could have on something that if you don't believe in and you don't think it's important enough, it's not worth it. And if you do, you have all the motivation to do it really well.
especially in leadership positions, right? Because your question was what you give advice for a leader. So of course, if you're young, out of school, just do the work, whatever you get, and enjoy and make some colleagues and friendships and network. And there is other priorities other than to bring the most meaningful innovation to life. Go for it till you're like reaching your, I don't know, early 30s, now
Right.
late 20s, I would say. But if you do are capable enough to get into leadership position, now I'm not saying, and that's a lot of pressure. Like the example that you gave, it's an extreme, right? To work
Yeah.
solving poverty or delivering water solution to
Right.
unprivileged. That's very, very privileged situation to be able to work on the UN sustainable goals or any other
Sure.
goals to advance humanity. But
Sure.
just talking, I know a lot of students ask that. It's like, but why? Do I need to really change the world? No, you don't. But at least believe in what the company puts out there, right? That we're not doing
Yeah.
any harm, that we're not selling nothing for people that are just
Yeah.
not able enough to understand that they don't need
Yeah.
it, that we don't create too much waste around the product,
Yeah.
that it's not doing harm for young adults and
Yeah.
teenagers.
Yeah.
So I'm
You
not
see
saying
that in like in San Francisco in the Bay Area, that many companies which are very, very big and successful, their employees start to question what they're doing, what their aims are. And I guess that you saw the Social Dilemma movie. So it's connected to what are they bringing to the world from their work and talent. So
yeah,
it's
I
really
know, right?
interesting. Yeah, and I think it's really good that people ask the question. When you think about our parents, did they really ask these questions? No, I don't think. They went to work, they came back,
Well, did
they
they produce an app to sell, I don't know even what, like they didn't produce such
yeah,
stupid things
but
back
they
then.
went and they bought like bread to the family, and that's it. It's not like questioning what's the meaning of. It's like doing your work, coming back at 5 or 6. That's it. That's what it was, and it was a bit like simpler. We're
Exactly,
almost
it was
yeah.
simpler.
We're almost done. So we're in the middle of the COVID crisis, and we have to say something about that. So, what would you tell change makers, innovation leaders during these hard times? What would you tell them?
So again, I'm sure you heard this answer from everybody, right? That innovation comes from necessity.
Right.
And I'm sure everybody said that, but it's true. Innovation comes from necessity. And I think, and I'm sure I'm not saying anything new, but the situation is just expedited a lot of processes that were in the making anyway. And I think it's just a matter, when you do look at the future and want to plan for the future, you do have to be very sensitive to signals, right? And to create some sort of like internal intelligence about signals that are happening around that. Usually, when you have a very abruptive situation like we're having now, it's called a wild card in trend reports. People are like, "Whoa, where did this came from? Everything is upside down. The world have just changed 100. Usually, if you listen closely, the signs were already there. Either scholars talked about it, either very innovative leaders talked about this. There is this very famous 15-minute
Bill
from
Gates.
2015, Bill Gates, right? That he was not
Yeah.
talking specifically about the COVID, but he was talking about the pandemic and how we're not prepared as society to
Right.
deal with.
Right. Right.
So usually wild cards are had signals. We chose for any reasons, political,
Yeah.
social, economic reasons, to ignore them.
Yeah.
So I would say for an innovation leader is really listen to the signals. Listen to the signals that will affect your business and your company and your mission first and foremost, right? We cannot have an eye for everything that's happening in the world and be responsible for that. And yes, we will have wild cards, but there are trends and cycles and early signs that we can really, really keep an eye when it's concerning our brand, our company, our mission. Again, I'm not asking everybody to be a Bill Gates and know everything about everything. But if you work in the mobility industry, learn about that. Keep your internal kind of weekly aggregation of information and synthesis, and share it once a month. Have someone in the office do it. It can be a young employee. Have a discussion
Yeah.
about that. Really, really understand that a time like this was in the making. It just happened quicker, and there is a lot of issues that are emerging at this moment. Definitely social issues and economic issues and political issues, and a lot in the biotech scene. And if you are innovative, literate heart, and you do believe that society can benefit from innovation, it's not just for the bottom line, because we're not here for that. Look around. I think the space is like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
so
you're
much
right.
to do. It's
I
like,
totally agree that this is like so many new opportunities, so many new things, so many unsatisfied needs that you should address or could
just
address.
like
Is like,
all
yeah,
over the place. Just look around, like, but that really connects back to why you're even bothering with innovation. Is it just to make money? Okay, so you will have a lot of dead ends. But if you are listening to the cues and answering unmet needs that we have now, like never before, this is like prime time for innovation. So
right.
good for
I
you, all
totally agree.
innovation leaders.
That's for sure. So we could go on for hours as we've done it in the past. We could do it right now, but we're out of time. So I want to thank you for your time. It's been such a pleasure. Maybe we should do another episode. And just I would ask if people want to contact you and ask a question and listen to you more. So what would they do? Where can
So
they reach
first of all, have an eye on the book Innovation through Innovation, coming out when I think we're probably 2020, end of 2021. So you can
you? Yeah.
see our opinions there.
Right.
And also LinkedIn is the best way.
Yeah.
Just all
Karin
my details are
Folman.
there. I'm always updating it and making sure I look slick. And yeah, you can see everything about me
Yeah.
there. I don't publish a lot, but I definitely interact with whoever private message me.
Yeah. So Karin Folman, and really, really thank you for your time. And I want to thank everyone and all the change makers out there. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next episode. Have a great day. Bye bye.